Hello.
Good morning.
Good
I don't know
afternoon.
if you can hear me this morning or not.
I can. It's all good. Let me just
Here
close
you
my.
are.
Here I am. Just quickly get the legals out the way because we can't have anyone suing our ass. Nothing discussed on this Spaces session constitute or infers any trading advice or endorsements by the hosts thereof, which is of course the lovely Angie and myself. Oh, I would say I'm also fairly lovely. But yeah, welcome to the Ag Markets Blast, where Angie will give you 3 points to get your day started.
Woohoo! And I do think you're lovely, by the way.
Oh,
So I just
stop
wanted
it,
you to know.
you. Stop it.
Very lovely for our Tuesday. Today we have a USDA report day. Biggest thing that we're going to be paying attention to is the USDA numbers. Couple important factors to think about with today as we head in to the figures is that the USDA will update, I guess, cotton production. So for any of you that are super pumped about cotton, I guess they do give a new number for that. I read that this morning and was kind of surprised because in corn and beans, they do not. We don't do updated production numbers. We wait until January and kind of reconcile the production with the quarterly stock figures. So behind the scenes right now, the USDA is actually working to kind of figure out what we had on hand for supplies December 1st. That information will come out a month from now. And that'll really be some of the biggest driving factors that we have as we work into the start of the new year. But for today, we should get some updated demand figures. There is some expectation, or at least going into the report, trader expectations relatively muted on what we'll see. The USDA, the average trade guess is a bit of a reduction in corn carryout, about 32 million bushels from last month. And so that's interesting, considering the fact that our export sales book or our export sales programs actually running over 30% larger than a year ago. And the USDA right now isn't really forecasting much more than about a 1.5% increase. And so that's somewhat surprising. We did not see a bump in exports in last month's report on corn, like some were kind of expecting. And so it does open the door to a potential surprise in corn today. But going into the number, the traders are not expecting a huge adjustment by any means. Soybeans and wheat, it's so exciting right now. Basically, you could watch paint dry coming into the report. Apparently, per trade expectations, they're thinking we see maybe a million bushel reduction and carry out for both soybeans and wheat going into the new year. Now, uh, wheat also, similar to corn, is running well ahead of normal pace for exports. And so it is possible we could see a bit of an adjustment there, but, not necessarily probable ahead of the quarterly stocks data next month. The thing also, or one of the other factors that we'll be watching, there'll be a lot of attention paid to South American production and world carryover and some of these other things. I will be paying real close attention to what the USDA has to say for Russian wheat exports. Right now, there is talk that Russian wheat exports this year could fall, to about 40 million metric ton. That seems to be the very low end of the estimate. Trade seems to be kind of gathering around that 42, 43 million metric ton area, but the USDA is currently expecting about 48 million metric tons. And so that's a difference of 5 million metric ton or 184 million bushels that the world market, is going to have to kind of figure out how to arrange itself around. Not impossible, but something that we'll be paying attention to. And so story number one, USDA supply and demand update will come out at noon Eastern today.
And
And
I'm going to
yeah.
say it because you won't, because like me, you do not do any self promotion, but everyone should be tuning into your live stream when the numbers come out.
Yes, we'll have that. We'll have a live spaces for you. I start about 5 minutes ahead of time because it feels really awkward to kind of talk about what we're expecting. But at 11:55 Eastern, we will have a spaces, and then I like to kind of reduce, what go over what the USDA had to say versus expectations and what the market reaction is to those figures. It lasts about 10 minutes. It's kind of like this, super rapid fire, touch on the big points and move on. So yeah, so we'll have that today. You can check out my Twitter profile for the link to that. Uh,
Perfect.
Point two, three, really, they're kind of underneath each other. They're one is overlays everything else. Is just kind of going to continue to watch what's going on with the cash markets. We've had some really interesting developments with like Brazil's currency and what that means for Brazilian values and what that means for Brazilian margin and what that means for all kinds of different things. And so that's going to be something to watch. We had gotten a headline overnight that Lula was in the hospital. He'd had surgery for a brain bleed. I don't think that's anything major, but we do have this sort of issue at hand between Lula and I'm speaking 1,000 foot. So like, don't take this as me saying I'm an expert on Brazil's economics, issues or whatever,
Or
but
brain surgery.
or brain surgery, exactly. But we are watching, really what's going on with the finance ministry and some of these cuts that Brazil's government needs to be making. Per Agriinvest, great group. If you don't follow them, you should. They're out of Brazil. They, are really kind of watching. I think the legislators are supposed to convene next week and try to come up with some of these, sort of budget cuts and things like that. Part of the reason that you've seen Brazil's currency just kind of weaken exceptionally is that they have this issue with inflation and this issue with overspending and all of these other things. And so over the next week or two, we really have to be watching what happens there, because it does have a huge influence on cash markets. Yesterday, we'd heard reports that there were some Chinese washouts of soybeans out of the PNW. It kind of appears as though that might be a cargo or two, nothing huge to be paying attention to or nothing big to worry about. But with Brazil's currency doing what it's doing, with the crop looking as solid as what it does, you have seen basis kind of collapse out of Brazil for new crop. It'll be interesting to see how Chinese buyers handle that, because they've already been exceptionally aggressive on their February forward purchases out of Brazil anyway for soybeans, like 6 million metric ton ahead of where they were a year ago. And now you're watching prices cheapen. And so it could be that we see kind of everyone just stop for a bit, and that could be frustrating on the soybean side. But on the corn side, we did see some reductions in production out of China in their update this morning, and we are hearing issues on quality. Probably not anything we see from a Chinese corn import standpoint until March or so, but there have been reports that they are starting to shop for Brazilian values. And right now, Brazil really doesn't have anything to offer aggressively into the world market until at least July. So things to watch there: cash market, corn, soybeans, what the USDA has to say today, and I think that'll do her.
Yes. Can I add a 0.5?
Of
Can I add a
course,
0.5? So obviously
yeah.
we've heard from China the stimulus chatter as usual. As I like to say, it's all fart no poo usually, or fur coat no knickers if you want to be a slightly
It's,
more, well, less vulgar, less
the first
vulgar.
one is that was
Yeah,
yeah. I'm gonna write
but
that down.
I get the point across. But one thing to note is, they've done this whole whatever it takes rhetoric that we've seen this week, which obviously gave a pump to Chinese stocks and Asian stocks in general to begin with, and that started fading off. But the conference where we should find out more details, if we find out more details, obviously China being China, they're always very light on the particulars.
Right.
But that is tomorrow. Well, they're tomorrow, so basically our tonight and the
Yep.
following day. So we could wake up with some Chinese headlines. So something just to have on the radar there.
Yeah, definitely could. And I will be excited to see what they are. I'm leaning towards, just with market sentiment as it is, like I'm so used to everyone being like, well, that was disappointing.
Yeah,
I don't
right.
really know what they're going to bring to the table unless they actually bring
Well,
a
this is
monetary
it.
bazooka, you
Is
know.
if history rhymes, and the rhyme is that China, they do a lot of talk, but
Mhm.
we see very little filter through. So anyway, I'm sure the overnight Chinese experts will be loud and proud on Twitter tomorrow morning when we wake up.
Oh, for sure. I'm looking forward to it already. I can't wait. So that will be one thing that we'll be watching, because that does kick off here overnight. And, traditionally we don't get a lot of information out of this conference, right? But
No,
I think messaging, like usually it ends up showing up the following spring from what I've understood, just with policy and some of these other things. But with the
yeah.
whole world watching and all of this, attention being
Well,
paid,
and this is
it's
it.
huge.
They've done a lot of talk over the last few days. So there's a lot of people waiting for something. So if they come out and it's a bit of a damp squib, then I think they could be in a world of pain, to be honest. Well,
Hmm.
kind of the risk assets could be, but we'll see, we'll see. And also
Yeah.
tune in for tomorrow's show, and we can tell you all about it.
Yeah, that'll be the fun part. We'll have all of the answers and a lot more questions.
Well, well, we try. Right,
Yeah.
Angie,
So,
thank you so much for today. Oh, sorry,
yes.
did you have any? Are you done? Sorry,
No,
I didn't
that's
mean to
it.
cut you
We're
off.
good.
Oh,
We'll be there.
perfect.
We'll be here midday with the USDA numbers. Really
Perfect. I
looking
look
forward to that
forward to
too.
it. Listeners, thank you as always. If you are trading or if you're out in the field or whatever today, stay safe, look after yourselves, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
See you. Bye bye.